Hi Jackie, it's Mrs. Olson. I made this video to provide feedback for the Global Encounters test. So instead of writing a whole bunch of paragraphs about what you wrote, I thought it might be easier to understand if I was helping you go through step by step with what you have already written. So let me tell you what I've done with this document here. At the top in bold, black, and underlined is just the original test question. So I copied and pasted the original test question right here. Okay. The next two paragraphs, which is the faded black or gray text, is copied and pasted from this is your answer, copied and pasted. That's what you originally wrote. The pink font is me talking and providing information. The blue font are guiding questions to direct your writing. And the purple font is a template to follow when you do your rewrite. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of what you are looking at there. Now, before we start, I think what you were trying to do with the first couple of sentences was to write an introduction. Now, introductions are not bad, so don't get me wrong, because your English teachers might get mad at me. For these type of short answer questions in my world history class, there isn't a need for the introduction. So for future reference, you can get rid of them. You don't have to write them. You can get straight into your point. Okay. So the very first thing in pink that I wrote, that isn't the story for all countries. I'm referring to what you wrote as far as every country needed something different. That's how exploration started. Well, when the Europeans set out to explore, it isn't because they all needed something. Each one of them had something a little bit different, and a lot of it has to do with power and money, okay? But because you don't need the introduction, you won't necessarily have to say that. Okay, so on to the next part. Now, I believe what you are trying to get to here, your first example of European exploration and how they influenced this era of history, was about new laws. Okay, so I actually get a little bit confused here. And what I mean by that is you were talking about the enforcement of taxes that was pushed by the Mughals. Well, the Mughals, they actually started to collect taxes because the British East India Company forced them to do that. So when the British were in India, their way of controlling the Mughals, the Indians, was to make them collect taxes from their own people, but those taxes went to the British East India Company. Okay. Um, Before the laws part, you talked about the best way to trade. Okay, so I'm going to turn that into your first example in your rewrite and suggest that you write about the establishment of trade routes. Okay, now these are just suggestions. So if you don't want to talk about trade routes, you don't have to. But I was trying to take something that was very clear, details that were easy to find from what you already wrote. Okay? You can write me and tell me if that doesn't make any sense, but I hope it does. Okay. Um, the second part, I believe what you were talking about here was the spreading of religion. It gets a little bit muddied down here because it talks about Japan invading Korea, the Manchus, which are Chinese, they invaded Korea. Okay, so those don't have much to do with European exploration, but more with what different Asian countries were doing. So I just want to bring it back around and focus the religion example on one area of the world in which European countries tried to spread or they force their religion onto a different group of people. Okay, so I guess I'll finish that thought. So when you write the second paragraph on religion, just choose one European country that took power in one area of the world. Explain what that religion was and which group of people that religion was forced upon, and then tell me what happened as a result of this new religion in this new country. Okay, I guess I have to go back to this because I didn't explain this very well. So when you do your first paragraph on trade routes, I said that you're going to, or you can, this is just a suggestion, you can talk about the increase of trade to different areas, and then in parentheses, you can specify where these trade routes are located on the globe, which countries established them and or used them. Okay, so you're going to name the countries, you're going to name the trade routes if they have a name, and tell me where they are located on the globe, like where they go to on the globe. And you're also going to explain what happened as a result of those trade routes. Were there certain products that were brought back from these new countries to Europe? And then what happened in Europe as a result of those new products being there? Or maybe you can talk about the establishment of these trade routes, where they went to, and how the new peoples in these new lands were affected because of European exploration. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways in which you can go when you talk about the trade routes. Okay, so the purple here is a template. So you can use this verbiage right here. One example of the influence of European exploration can be seen in, and so your first event might be, you might say, the establishment of trade routes. Okay. And then the second one would be, and can be seen with the spread of religion. So you're going to take that out and write in what it is that you are talking about. Now, these are the same right here. It says define the event. So tell me exactly what happened. Um, this is kind of this right here. You're going to say what country established the trade route, where it was located, and where they went, right? And then you are going to do the big so what factor. You're going to explain how that's connected to European exploration. Okay, that's this part. Explain what happened as a result of these trade routes. And then you can kind of plug in the same ideas for religion in the second one. All right, I hope that wasn't too long. I hope I explained it okay. If you do have any questions, please let me know. You can always write to me via the inbox, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. All right, Jackie, bye.